what happened last night in the NBA because there was a game four of the Western Conference Finals between the Los Angeles Lakers and the Denver Nuggets. And I want to start off with this. There's a lot of good people in the world. There's a lot of bad people too, don't get me wrong. But there are a lot of good people in the world. There's a lot of good paying jobs in the world. There's a lot of good jobs in the world. With that being said, like I said, there are a lot of good people, but where's the greatness? There is a huge difference in life between being good at something and being great at something. I always said you can be good at a lot of things, but where are you special at? I keep a very close circle of friends. I guess you'd call them my inner circle. It's like 2 or 3 people I talk to on a regular basis, and that's it. And you ask why, Brandon, and the answer is one, because I'm not a social butterfly. And the second reason for that is because I only hang around and talk to special people. There's a lot of great, talented people in the world. There's a lot of NBA players. There's a lot of NFL players. There's a lot of MLB players. But the difference between, say, LeBron James, Mike Trout, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Jamal Murray, who I'm going to get to here in a second. They all do something incredibly special that we've never, ever seen before. That's the difference between, again, knowing if you have a franchise quarterback that can win you a Super Bowl and a guy that can just win you games. There's a difference between a star in Paul George, who can be a co-star, who can disappear at times. I would categorize Russell Westbrook in that category as well, compared to Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Kawhi Leonard, who can absolutely carry teams to championships as long as their second co-star doesn't completely let them down like Paul George did to the Los Angeles Clippers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, what we watched last night was a superstar in the making, and that is the point guard who wears number 27 for the Denver Nuggets, Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray made some plays last night, especially that one play where he's coming off the pick from Jokic and he drives the basket and LeBron thinks he's going to block him and Murray just goes up and under with the opposite hand and lays it in for a layup. You just have to tip your hat, man. And then sometimes it's good in basketball. The expression is always defense wins championships, but definitely in the NBA, sometimes it's true. You could have the perfect defense, and even in the NFL, you could have the perfect defense called a guy who makes an amazing catch. In basketball, you have the perfect defense called a guy who makes, an amazing shot. In baseball, you have the perfect pitch. The guy just got enough wood on it to hit the ball out of the park, and he just guessed right. So there are definitely exceptions, but generally defense wins championships. Last night, the Lakers did everything they could to stop Jamal Murray, and they just couldn't. I mean, this man was flat out of his mind. He scored 32 points. He was 12 of 20 from the field, which is 60%, by the way, which is just incredible, considering that the Denver only shot 51% from the field. And by the way, the thing I love about Jamal Murray the most, he is a clutch free throw shooter. We don't get that anymore. It's the one knock, obviously, on LeBron James, that he's not a great free throw shooter. Jamal Murray last night in the clutch, 8 of 8 free throws. He is now 22 of 22 in the fourth quarter, shooting free throws in the postseason. Ladies and gentlemen, that is clutch. That is money. Jamal Murray will give you a run for his money, whether it's anybody, whether it's Steph Curry, Damian Lillard, Kyrie Irving, these star point guards that we think of the top 3, point guards in the NBA. I think now you have to put Jamal Murray on the list. And by the way, I might take Jamal Murray as my number 1 guy. I mean, I trust him right now with the ball in his hands in the fourth quarter. I trust him more than Curry, Kyrie, and Damian Lillard. Out of all those guys, Jamal Murray right now to me is the number 1 point guard in the league. But let's take a look at why the Lakers won this game last night. And you look at the box score and you go, AD, 34 points, but his plus minus was only 1. LeBron, 26, 9 rebounds, 8 assists. His plus minus was only 8. You go, then, it's a good game for LeBron. It's not a virtuoso. But then you look at what Dwight Howard did last night. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was incredible. Dwight Howard, in his first start of the postseason, guarding Jokic, by the way, and he got Jokic in foul trouble. That's important, too. 23 minutes he played. He was 5 of 6 from the floor with 11 rebounds, including 6 offensive rebounds. That's amazing to me. Plus, his plus-minus was 7. You take a look at the overall rebounding numbers. Offensive rebounds, the Lakers out-rebounded the Nuggets 12-6. They out-rebounded them in total 51-39. The Lakers shot 80% from the free throw line. Denver shot 87%. The Lakers' free-point percentage was 33%. Denver's free-point percentage was 36%. Field goal percentage, Denver outshot the Lakers 51-48. So when it all came down to, ladies and gentlemen, was situational basketball. And that's what I like, man. The reason why I like this Lakers team is the reason why I've said it all along. Yes, I know they don't have that number 3 scorer, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, man. He came up big last night. He put up 13 points off the bench. But the thing I don't like about Pope is every time I watch him, he makes 1 to 2 good plays, but in my opinion, he makes about 5 or 6 bad plays. But the 13 points evened it out last night. The Lakers were lucky in that regard, and the Lakers didn't even play that well, and they escaped with a win. And the question is, why is that? I already mentioned the rebounding, but it's also because they have veterans on their team, like Dwight Howard, and especially like Rajon Rondo, who played 22 minutes last night, put up 11 points. By the way, 5 rebounds and 7 assists. Rajon was dropping dimes all over the place. He had only 1 turnover, which is very impressive. Anthony Davis led the Lakers with 3 turnovers. By the way, LeBron didn't have any turnovers last night, which is impressive in itself. The Lakers took care of the basketball mostly, and then they used their veteranship, their gamesmanship of Rajon Rondo, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Danny Green, who chipped in with a plus 12 and plus minus. I know he was only 1 of 6 from the field, but his defense is important. And this is what I've always said. If you don't score the basketball, generally, obviously, some people have to score. But if you only have 2 to 3 main scorers on your team, that's okay in today's NBA. You can win a championship like that. However, here's the problem. You must be good defensively. And even though Rondo, Danny Green, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, even though these guys don't score a lot of points generally, what they do is they get it done on the defensive end. And let me tell you, Frank Vogel, who in my opinion should be the coach of the year in the NBA, should be very proud of this group. Because right now the Lakers are 1 win away from the NBA Finals, and they're doing it with defense. Heck, you take a look at what Denver did last night. Jamal Murray led the crew with 32 points. Their next highest scorer was Grant with 17. They out Jokic to 16. But only 6 of 13 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, and only 7 boards. They kept Jokic off the board. They put him in foul trouble. He had 5 fouls, obviously, in the fourth quarter. He had assists, and the Lakers did a good job with that. Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee did a good job with neutralizing Jokic. And I thought if the Lakers had a bunch of young guys last night, the Lakers would have lost that game. Because Denver has a bunch of young guys and only a few veterans, they lost that game because they don't have the experience. I've always said this, experience matters. When I'm building a crew, when I'm looking to hire somebody, the first thing I want to look at is, what is your experience? Now again, there are general exceptions to the rule. If somebody is clearly great at something, even though they don't have the experience, you're going to hire them just because you see something in them. Something in them that is great. Again, everybody can hold different numerous jobs. Everybody can be a writer. Everybody can be an actor. Anybody can be whatever you want to be. But here's the difference. What do you do that stands out among the crowd? You know, everybody can have their hot take, but what I do generally that's different is I will stick to my guns, and I see things that I've always said. I've seen things for a glass half full type of guy, and I am generally sticking to my boldest opinions. I stick with my opinions, and by the way, one of the things that I do differently than almost every other sports talk show host is we do include wrestling in the sports talk show. That's what made me different on Bunk School Radio, was I was a wrestling guy. Not only did I talk NBA, NFL, MLB, but I talk wrestling. If you want to talk hockey, or if you want to talk about more about Kent State athletics, I'm all game for it because it makes you stand out from the crowd. Again, what makes you different? What makes this Lakers team different is not only can they score, not only do they have a dynamic duo on LeBron James and Anthony Davis, but they're full of veterans and they play hard-nosed defense. And this Denver team, man, I got to give Denver a lot of credit. I got to give Coach Mike Malone a lot of credit. Mike Malone has installed in these guys, you never, ever, ever give up. And these Nuggets will play to the final whistle. So if you're the Lakers, you have to be willing to kill this team. You have to kill this team. You've already shot him in the legs, and you shot him in one arm, so to speak. Now you got to shoot him in the other arm or shoot him in the head. Obviously, I'm talking about figuratively here in order to make sure they're dead. Because if you give them a little bit of life and if they're on life support, this team will come back. And this series is not over yet. I predicted the Lakers in 5. If they win on Saturday, I will be right. But the Lakers do have to finish these Nuggets off because they do play tough, hard-nosed basketball.